Hey Vault Dwellers, JV here, and today I'm discussing beta feedback for Fallout 76. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for more Fallout 76 videos just like this. This morning, Bethesda posted on the RFO76 subreddit addressing feedback for the beta, and there's tons of great info in here, but the main highlight for many will be the stash situation. So I've left a link to the full post in the description. We're going to take a look at it right now. They start by saying, "We'd like to extend our sincerest thanks to everyone who played the beta. The stories you've been sharing and the feedback you've provided and the issues you've made us aware of have been appreciated along this journey. We've been reading everyone's comments and wanted to share some of what we will be addressing on or close to launch and what we're investigating post-launch. We encourage you to keep sharing it with us, whether that's on Reddit, social media channels like Twitter and Facebook, and our official forums. Thank you again for your continued support." First off, they are going to support ultra-wide 21:9 resolution post-launch. Once available or shortly before, they will post that in patch notes and let people know when to expect it. There was no 21:9 support from Bethesda in Fallout 4. You had to go on Nexus, or you had to alter some of the, code yourself in order to get that running. It was a bit of a workaround, but it's nice to know that we'll have native support for those that have ultra-wide monitors. Larger stash size. Bethesda has seen this one come up a lot and understands the frustration. While the stash size at 400 weight limit can get easier to deal with over time, they do plan on increasing it in the future. While this may not be a lot to go on, what I see this as is a promise. Bethesda is promising to address this and promising to increase the stash size. We do not know when it's going to happen though. All we have is we plan on increasing it in the future. So I would put zero expectations on the timing or when this is coming out. It could be a few weeks, it could be a month, it could be longer. We have no clue. But at the very least, we have acknowledgement. They are acknowledging that this is an issue that a lot of players are complaining about, whether you think it's a problem or not. And so it is something that they're working on, and I, of course, will update you guys when we learn more. Next is push to talk. While Bethesda is aiming to create a consistent experience on every platform, they understand that some people on PC would like push to talk. Their goal with voice chat being on by default is to highlight that the world is alive with real people just like you. They want to start encouraging player interaction and will look into adding this in the future. This has been a hot button issue on the Fallout 76 subreddit, but I think people generally agree across the board. This is just something that should be in the game for PC. It doesn't matter if the goal is to be consistent across the experience. In a multiplayer game where you're online, you have so many people that don't want to just hop on a mic. They still want to have a social experience. I think player choice is at the core of what Bethesda tries to do most of the time, and if they're in line with that, they should really add push to talk. Next is the Fov Slider. Bethesda hasn't supported sliders in previous games as it's known to break a lot of animations and cause clipping. They do have the option to zoom out in third person on PC, but they won't be able to have Fov sliders for first person. So I read this as we're not going to get it. It's not possible, or they're not going to do it because it would break other things, and that's not a sacrifice that they're willing to make. And so it's a little unfortunate. Again, I'd really like that to be there for player choice, regardless of clipping. I think a lot of people find the FOV a little too zoomed in, they feel nauseous, so on and so forth. And they wouldn't mind clipping, but hopefully Bethesda will revisit this because a lot of people want this. They mention exploits of various types. Many have been reported and have been known and will be addressed in a future update. I'd love it if they were a little more specific on this kind of stuff. Next is issues with the social menu and inviting friends, making teams, etc. Those who are experiencing those issues with social components will find that they have been fixed. Bethesda will continue to fix issues as they arrive as fast as possible, so they want us to continue to give them feedback on that. Next is an issue with hunger bars. Some were saying that their hunger bar wouldn't replenish no matter how much they ate or how cleared of diseases they were. That issue has been addressed and will be in a future update, so that's nice. And then finally, an issue I ran into a lot of is the loud gunshot banging noises. And it is an issue that you would randomly hear almost what sounded like a railgun firing off around the world no matter where you were, and they are saying that will be addressed in a future update near launch. Obviously, we're only a week away from launch today, and so that's going to be addressed in the next week. Overall, this is awesome. I love that Bethesda came out and gave us an update on what they're working on before we see it. This is something I actually called for in my previous video where they gave us an update, they gave us patch notes, but then didn't elaborate further, didn't kind of give us insight into what was going to come in the future. That's exactly what this is. And so major kudos to Bethesda. Regardless of whether you think they address things that need to be addressed or not, they're showing that they want to be close to this community and they want to respond and adjust as quickly as possible. I think this is a really good sign for the future of this game. We just need to keep them on their toes, continue giving feedback, and make sure that we're getting this information on a regular basis. Before we wrap up the video, I just wanted to give my additional thoughts on the stash limit being increased. I know this is a debate within the community. I think the overwhelmingly loud voice of most people and most, of the more casual audience that isn't as vocal is that the stash being 400 kind of just sucks. It kind of just, lessens the experience. It makes it where you are spending way too much time trying to manage your inventory, trying to see what you should throw away or sell, so on and so forth. There's one end of the spectrum who's saying, this is ridiculous, we need an unlimited stash. It needs to be unlimited like previous Fallout games, like Fallout 4, where you could go to Sanctuary, where your workshop bench is, and just dump everything in there. That's how the game should be. On the other end of the spectrum, we have people who say, no, this is exactly how it should be. We need to keep it at 400 because that is a survival element of the game. If you remove that, then this is not a survival game at all, and that was really the only element of survival in the game whatsoever. I think those are extremes. You are certainly entitled to those, but if you're on either side of that, I think those are extremes. I fall more in the middle. I think there should be a limit. I think that makes sense in a long-term game that we're going to be playing for years and collecting stuff and continuing to kind of build up our inventory. There's no way we're going to be able to keep everything. That number is just going to keep going up and up and up. There's got to be some kind of economy to this game. There's got to be resource management. We've got to decide, okay, are we going to sell these things or keep these things? That makes sense in my head for this game. Bethesda did mention that the 400 weight limit can get easier to deal with over time, and I generally agree with that. I think as you play more of the game and sink your teeth in, you start to learn more about what you should be picking up and what you should be leaving. That's kind of a learning curve situation where people are picking up everything and then they're like, whoa, I'm out of room, but then they realize, oh, I don't really need that stuff. So I think there's definitely some truth in that as well. Regardless, I'm going to stick with my previous number that I gave you guys in a previous video, 1,000. I think 1,000 is a fine weight limit. I think that's what they should be shooting for. I think that's fair. It's 2.5 times as big as it is now, and that should give everyone plenty of room to stash their valuables while still maintaining that element of scarcity and survival where, you do have to consider what you're stashing away. I'm also really interested to see how this will affect the overall perk choices. Are perks like Pack Rat, Traveling Pharmacy, Sturdy Frame, and Through Hiker that reduce the weight of specific items, will those become less valuable if the stash is increased? Will putting extra points in strength and getting strong back at a later level be less valuable? I'm going to keep an eye on how these things are going to change the overall meta with our choices moving forward. In the comments section, tell me if you agree with the decision to increase the stash limit. Share your thoughts below. If you enjoyed the video, remember to subscribe and hit the bell for more Fallout 76 content like my last video where we discuss Update 1.0. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.